In this chapter, we will be looking at the lid switch, how it works, how it can break, and how you can fix it. In order to access the lid switch plug, you will need to get under the console. Look for two Phillips head screws. On some models, they will be located on the front left and right of the control console, as you can see here. On many Kenmore brand washers, these screws are covered by a cap that can be removed simply by pulling the top of the cap towards the front of the washer. If you don't see them here, look to the rear of the console. The screws pass through the end cap and attach the control panel to the cabinet top. Now the ends of these screws are not threaded, so it's helpful to insert your finger under the screw head and lift them out the last eighth of an inch or so. If no screws can be seen, look for this clip style. Move the tub to the side so you can reach in under the console and feel for a clip. This clip needs to be pushed towards the rear of the washer to release it from the cabinet top. On the left side, this mounting clip is located next to a new hinge-activated lid switch. The switch senses that the lid is closed when a small bar that is an extension of the hinge pushes the black portion of the switch towards the rear, closing the circuit, and telling the timer that it's safe to perform the agitation or spin. Be sure that you don't put pressure on the switch. It's constructed of plastic, and if it's pressed, it will break easily. Push that sloped piece of metal to release it from the console. Now after you have your screws removed or your clip released, pull the control panel slightly forward and allow it to tip back. As you can see there's a hinge system that will keep it in place. Next, you need to unplug the lid switch. On some models, as shown here, the lid has a plunger on it that will trip the switch through a hole in the cabinet top. This style will have a plug at the center rear of the cabinet top. The switch can be checked a number of ways. First, open the lid slightly and let it close again. Listen for a small clicking noise. If you don't hear it, the switch is not being engaged for some reason. A few things need to happen for the washer to agitate or spin. First, the washer will fill with water and trip the pressure switch. On some older models, the washer will now agitate. However, on newer models, the lid switch must be closed to allow safe agitation. The lid switch is connected with 3 wires: the white neutral, the green ground, and the colored power lead. Power flows into the lid switch through the power wire, and if it is closed, will flow out through the neutral. Let's look at how this system of switches works. First, I will blow on the pressure switch hose, tripping the switch and telling the washer that it is full of water. When I open the lid switch, the washer thinks that I have opened the lid and will stop agitating. Next, I will advance the washer to the drain spin portion of the cycle. If the lid switch is closed, the washer will first drain the majority of water out of the tub to reduce the weight that it needs to spin. When I release the switch once, it simulates a pause that is built into the timer to allow the washer to shift the drive system to spin the tub. Now the tub spins at 500 revolutions per minute, so be certain that you are clear of any moving parts before you perform this test. If your washer fills with water and then stops dead, or it fills and agitates and then stops dead, the lid switch is the most likely cause. The most accurate way to test the switch is with a voltmeter. If you have one, move the dial to the omega symbol, which means ohms. This setting measures the ability of power to flow through a particular part or circuit. Test the 2 wire terminals that are making contact with the wire colors other than green with the lid closed. The meter should give you the same reading as if you were touching the test leads together. This is called a closed circuit. If you have the hinge-activated style lid switch, it can be removed from the top and replaced without removing the cabinet. Simply lift the hinge to disengage the switch and replace. Also, the older style lid switch can be tested without removing the cabinet. From this terminal at the top, which is under the console, attach your meter and open and close the lid. The reading that you see with the lid closed should be the same as if you were touching the meter leads together. The paddle style switch will also commonly break at the point where the two Phillips mounting screws attach the switch to the cabinet top, as you can see here in this photograph. This switch will still work if manually tripped, however, it is not attached to the top, so the lid pin actuator will move the entire switch and not just the paddle down. Sometimes the hinge bar will need to be bent slightly to make better contact with the switch. Also check to make sure that the two hinge screws that attach the hinge to the lid are tightened. To bend the hinge or to replace the old plunger style lid switch, we are going to need to remove the cabinet. To do this, remove the cabinet mounting clips. These clips attach the cabinet to the rear panel of the frame. To remove them, insert a screwdriver into the front of the clip and use leverage by pushing the top of the screwdriver to the rear of the machine. Now that our lid switch is disconnected and we've removed our mounting clips, grab hold of the front of the cabinet by opening the lid and tilt the cabinet away from the back of the panel. The bottom of the cabinet is hooked under the frame, so pull it slightly forward. Now you'll be better able to access the inside of the cabinet and see clearly what is the matter with your switch. You will need to have your model number ready when you call the parts dealer to get the correct switch style and length for your model. If you're replacing the older style lid switch with a lid plunger, begin by removing the two Phillips head screws that attach the switch to the cabinet top. Next, from the inside of the cabinet, remove a 5/16 inch screw that attaches the ground wire. You need to free the harness from all the clips that are holding it to the top. And lastly, release the small tabs that secure the plug terminal into place with a screwdriver by pressing them towards the center of the terminal. Remove it and reinstall your new switch.